Hello. Comics Curated is a YouTube channel for adult comic book fans. If you're not an adult, please find one and watch this video with them. Comics Curated is not a children's channel. Hey guys, welcome back to Comics Curated. Today, under the bright lights, we've got the Eternals King Size Annual #1. I think this is #1 of one. I don't think there were any other king size annuals for the Eternals. I should probably check that, but I'm not going to do that now. So this is Jack Kirby, obviously the Eternals, the new Marvel movie that's coming out, the next big phase 4 of Marvel. And this is an interesting annual because it doesn't really get into anything that you're going to see in that movie. But I love this story. So you have a couple different characters here that you're going to see in this comic. Really only one you'll see in the movie. That's Thena right here, the blonde. Then you have, this is Carcass, and this is the Reject. So the idea with the Eternals is you have the Eternals, then you have the Deviants, who are the bad guys. They're the defective Eternals, essentially. And so they typically would look like Carcass, but the Reject actually looks like a human being. The twist, the Jack Kirby twist, and where Kirby is so smart with these things, is the Reject is the bloodthirsty monster who wants to kill everything in its path, and Carcass is the sort of tortured poet, sensitive soul inside the monstrous body. So they're fighting time killers. So these are the greatest villains from across time, brought out of time to fight in 1977 New York. The interesting things about this comic, this is an annual, so Marvel would do annuals once a year. Typically in the summertime is when you would see the annuals, and it was not... It's where guys who were breaking in kind of got their first chance to draw some pages. It's where you would kind of dump stories that, you had an 8-page story with Ant-Man and you'd stick it in an annual somewhere. But then in the 80s, late 80s and 90s, they started to use the annuals to do big storylines across all the annuals. So across the X books, you would have one storyline that would run all through all the annuals of that year. They would do the same thing with, say, the Avengers, and you might have the Avengers and Daredevil and Thor and a couple others where it was one storyline through the annuals. This is not an example of that. It's just for context. Anyway, the other interesting thing about this is typically the annuals were perfect bound. So you can see the spine here a little bit. And you can see it just looks rolled like a typical comic would look. So a typical comic is saddle stitched. And I can give you an example of what saddle stitching is here. This issue of Finder. This is Carla Speed McNeil's Finder, which we'll probably look at some point. You'll see the staples here. Just, I think you can get the staple there. So it's stapled in half, big sheets of paper. You can see the staples there in the middle. Now, typically, the annuals were perfect bound, which is like a paperback book, right? It has sort of a rectangular spine. This is neither one of these. This is actually stapled, but just on the edge here with really big staples. And this is like 64 pages, I think. So I've never actually seen an annual that was bound like this. So that was one of the first things that kind of jumped out to me as I was going through this. So this is Jack Kirby. This is Kirby after he has worked at Marvel in the 60s, created basically the entire Marvel universe. I would say by himself. We can get into that later, but Stan Lee was involved, but we won't go off on a Stan Lee rant. Kirby then went to DC, created the Fourth World, so New Gods. If you saw the Snyder cut of Justice League, you saw Darkseid, which is a Kirby creation, Steppenwolf, the Parademons, Apocalypse. It's all Kirby stuff from the Fourth World. He leaves DC, comes back to Marvel, and does The Eternals. This was his last, I would say, really big high concept book, which was, what if aliens had visited the Earth, centuries or millennia before, the modern times? What, we would look at them as superpowered, people. And so now they're living on Earth, and it's an interesting story. It's Kirby at this point. I would say he's lost his fastball. He's kind of at the end. He's not real happy at Marvel. He's doing more work for less money and just trying to find a way out. The guy's been doing comics at that point for 40 years. What else are you going to do? And he eventually gets a job working in animation, which pays way better and gets him health insurance, and which is good. He's got an eye problem at this point. He's having issues with one eye that's just making drawing so much harder. But he doesn't have his fastball here, I would say, but he can still deliver. So here we see this essentially caveman, Neanderthal man, the streets of a modern city. So now they got to contain it. So Zurus, who is the Zeus, is tasking the Reject and Carcass with Thena to go out and to stop this monster and figure out what's going on. And again, the Rejects here, the Reject and Carcass, are not happy about being tasked to do this. They're being sent out because they know that they are expendable essentially, and they're not real happy about that designation. So here is the villain, Mr. Zachary, who is working in an apartment. He is using this very Kirby-esque device to bring famous monsters from history back into the modern day. I think this is Genghis Khan, if I remember correctly. Let's see. Come to me, warrior. I'm looking to see if that is Genghis Khan. May just be a Mongol warrior. And it's just fantastic stuff. So now Carcass is, this is his projected image, so he doesn't freak out all the normal people. And this, I thought that they were just using up Eternal stories, which was the other thing that you might do with an annual or a one-shot would be, the Eternals ended up getting canceled because the sales were not spectacular. So, say you had 2 issues left in the hopper and you wanted to make back some of the money you spent on it, you would package them together, roll it out as a one-shot, and just be done with it. But this is not structured the way that Kirby would typically structure his stories. He would usually start with Act 1. You would have a page like this, but there would usually be a circular piece here that would say Act 1, The Time Killers. 8 pages in, you would have Act 2, whatever the next heading is. And you don't see any of that structure in this book. It's very linear. It's one continuous story. It's not chopped up. Now, I love Kirby storytelling, and I love him breaking it up into different acts, because with each act, you would have Act 2, and you would have a picture like this. You'd have a full-page spread with some more information. So, going through there, now investigating, trying to figure out where these guys are coming from. Jack the Ripper makes an appearance. I think this is a fairly off-model Jack the Ripper. Again, Kirby, was, I'm sure, familiar with the concept, but this is not historically referenced, I would say. This is Kirby really just giving you a bit of the flavor of something like that. The bullpen bulletins around this time are interesting because this is what Star-Lord actually used to look like. This was Star-Lord before Guardians of the Galaxy. He was kind of a gigantic dork. And nobody really cared about him. It didn't really go anywhere. Anyway, back to the story. So they're fighting Jack the Ripper, and then Jack the Ripper disappears. The police are now looking for the killer, trying to figure out what's going on. Carcass meets a kid you get the human element here of, you know, Carcass now realizes, oh, here's Genghis Khan. I'm sorry, or just some Mongols here. So he now has to protect this girl and this little boy from being attacked, and he shows his true form. Man, a lot of ads in this thing. You can see the power of Carcass just dragging him down the hallways. Man, Kirby's great. It's just so fantastic. And then, you know, the reaction of the girl and the little boy, they're terrified, you know, just horrified by what they're seeing. So then Carcass, everyone freaking out, big nice full page spread. The villain trying to get Carcass to work with him. He won't, so he shoots him. So Athena then restores Carcass's image, heals him up a little bit. And now there's Johnny Unitas pimping a Daisy BB gun. So now he brings from the future. Man, there are a lot of ads. From the future, you can see it's gone terribly wrong because now Mr. Zachary, or Zaka, has brought Tutanax from the far past, and he's this deviant powerhouse. And so now they have to, you know, fight, you know, this terrible villain from their own past. So, just fantastic here. And like the language, it's almost iambic pentameter. It's not, you know, like Shakespeare, but, you know, yet to do battle with this titan from the past would be an honor for any veteran of the combat arena. I would try, milady. I would test my skills in such an epic fight. And so then Athena says, I shall restore your true image, master killer. And you know, it's just so good, Carcass. He looks most attractive for dying. The Reaper is ever present in the arena. Should he beckon me, I shall go to him in proper attire. Yea, though I be as the wasp to a giant who walks the earth, my wit and speed and deadly sting shall magnify in power when the Furies course in my blood. I don't know what to say. That's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And that's all Kirby. That's what you got to understand. Stan Lee's name is on the front page of this book. He doesn't have a damn thing to do with this comic. Kirby wrote it. Kirby drew it. It's all Kirby. Anyway, so then we go some more ads. And just as they're going to fight Tutanax. They're going to, you know, Athena takes them to an abandoned part of the city where it's up for repairs, and Tutanax says, I'm called the Mountain Mover with good reason, for mine is not a legend built on sham. He, you know, throws a bulldozer at him, and then, you know, must I move a mountain to give you a true vision of the odds you face? I shall not yield though you move this city. And so then Tutanax picks up a building. Man, Kirby's great. And this is Kirby without his fastball. This is really Kirby on the backside of his career. It's just amazing. So then just as quickly as it starts, Tutanax disappears, taken back to his time. And it's all over. There you go. Story's done. It's fantastic. 46 pages, minus all the ads. You know, and, you know, it's helped us much more than the humans. How this experience has given us true comradeship. Each of us was willing to sacrifice for the other. And nonsense. It's just fantastic. And then you have a nice text piece here from Kirby talking about DNA, talking about genetic engineering, talking about, let's see, the manufacture of living oddities from the test tube by hands and minds beyond our control. So this is 1977. And he is talking about things that are that are present in modern day. He was that far ahead. I can't say enough good things about Kirby, and this will not be the last Kirby comic that we look at. But I love this book. I'm not sure if these have gone up in price, the Eternals books, because of the movie. I imagine they will jump up. Every other Marvel book that has sort of the first appearance of characters that are now in the MCU have seen a bump. So you might want to jump on the Eternals back issues now. Pick them up when you can find them. I got this. I'm sure I got this out of a quarter bin years ago, but they are just fantastic books. The Eternals, like I say, if you really want Prime Kirby, you want to get the Fourth World. Go get the New Gods, get Mr. Miracle. Those are really the books that I think are the best example of Kirby's work. But these Eternal books are pretty solid. And a lot of the Marvel stuff that he did, Machine Man, which spun out of 2001 Space Odyssey, the adaptation of that. And Devil Dinosaur is not great, but it's got some interesting stuff going on there. You can't go wrong with a Kirby comic. So there you go. Like, follow, subscribe, share with your friends, talk about it in your church group, whatever. Click the bell for notifications. You'll see when new videos are available. If you want, if not, it's cool. Come back and we'll talk more comics. Thanks for watching. Bye.